Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last BQH hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking of my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session unless she states otherwise. And when I speak of me, I'm referring to myself under hypnosis, which means that the answers are coming from the 25th dimension. But before I start reading, I want to thank you as always for subscribing, liking, and commenting. It really makes a difference, and I love to read all your comments. And as you know, I respond to all of them. All right, we're going to jump in here. Lorrayne, what is happening with the secret societies around the world? Apparently, the Queen was at the head of many of them. There are some like Ben Fulford who say that some of these secret societies are good and want the best for humanity, like the Tool, I don't know how they call themselves, like the Tool organization, which has generously, heavy sarcasm, agreed to release some of the advanced technology they've been hiding until now. Me. Yes, so Ben Fulford is gone. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He is, he's not gone physically, but he is a journalist who basically was an intel journalist. He was talking about stuff that was happening behind the scenes, but he looked at it from a very 3D perspective, as in, I'm an investigative journalist, so what I'm telling you is not even behind the scenes, it's just that people don't talk about it. So it was kind of a check on 3D, on what's happening in 3D at a very basic level. So I used to like to read what he put out, but again, they're saying that his essence is gone. All right, so he's gone. We had already said he was in the middle. He was not a creature of the light. He wasn't on the dark side either. He thought he was uncovering things, and he's done a very good job in that sense. But he was very much in an environment where, you know, the truth is very flexible. And so he liked to think that they were, again, his belief was that we make no difference. We're just pawns in this game as people. And the only people that matter were the secret societies. So you had this battle between good secret societies, or secret societies that, even though they were holding on to technology that would have changed the quality of life on Earth, they were holding it so it wouldn't fall into the wrong hands. Apparently theirs were the right hands to conceal them, and they were laughing here. Whereas there were some darker secret societies on the other hand, and therefore there was this battle going on, and it's all very epic. It's like these epic movies that you watch. The truth is, none of these people were really on the side of the light. They've all been playing games. So it's all part of the dark or dark adjacent. And they were laughing. And so, no, it's not. The secret societies are also just like the rest of the dark. Most of them are empty shells now. We've said only 5% of the dark remains. And again, because we want them to stay. They want to stay for their own purposes as well. We've said many of them do not want to go back to the 25th dimension. But we also want them to stay. They're helping us actually to maintain the shell in place. But at the end of the day, there's nothing left of the old system. There's really pretty much nothing left. Who, again, we ask again, who is going to operate these systems? You need a lot of people to physically work in these systems, and you need a lot of essences that will support these systems for these systems to exist. At this scale, we're not supporting any of this. We're supporting the appearance of this still existing, but that's it. For all we know, they've been gone for a century. We don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter whether they're real or not. We're just supporting the idea that some of these things still exist. They were secret before. We didn't even know they existed. We'll continue ignoring them. They still don't exist. And they were laughing. We're being facetious, of course. But yeah, really, when you think about it, they are so secret. Do they exist? Is this a bunch of people who are telling themselves, oh, this is what we're doing, this is what we're holding on to? Really? So yeah, Ben Fulford was working in the circle. So to him, this is very real. So he's passing it on to us in good faith, meaning this is very real. You guys need to know about this. But what difference does it make for us to know about it, even if they exist or not? Who cares? At the end of the day, all that matters from a 3D perspective is what we've seen. And what we have seen is what our essence wants us to see. You never had to deal with them. Clea's never had to deal with them. Therefore, they don't exist. Now, at a behind the scenes level, again, most of them are already, many are dissolved, but most of them are just completely powerless at this point. It's the same story we're talking about. They can barely keep governments together. And this is the stuff where they put the most effort into maintaining disappearance. Do you think that they have the energy or the resources to maintain a lot of these things behind the scenes in place? They're scrambling to maintain things in place for our perusal. So things are not as they seem. So even the secret societies. So she was the head of secret societies. So she's been gone for a long time. It's not even a relevant question. What have they been doing for the past several years? Whatever they were doing before, completely irrelevant. Who cares? We don't care. I have to tell you, I love this entire answer. It was so matter of fact and like, okay, why do you even care about these things? They didn't exist before, they don't exist now, you know? I love it. All right, Lorrayne, thank you. Okay, what is the meaning behind the law that was passed 2 years ago in Illinois that will go into effect in January 2023, stating no bail is required for all kinds of extremely violent crimes like second-degree murder and kidnapping? It was obviously passed by the dark, as Chicago is particularly corrupt, but what will happen with it? Me. We believe we've already answered this question, but just to recap, the law will not go into effect. It will be repealed and it will not happen. But yes, it was passed by the dark. It was passed 2 years ago in the height of the pandemic craze, and therefore they just thought they could. They really thought they were done. That was the coup. That was the last coup they were doing. And then they would have us completely in their power. So you can see, this is just a reminder for you, not for you, Lorrayne, but for everyone to see, because we take it for granted now what is happening. Oh, it's the end of the pandemic. It's the end of this, the end of that. They never planned for there being an end here. They said this was endemic. They said we would have these things forever until the eye can see. We would get boosters every 4 to 6 months. We now take for granted that all of this is in the past. What happened? Where did that come from? Do you think the governments, these all-powerful governments, these all-powerful institutions wanted this to end? Do you see? They are nothing. They are tools in our hands. So yes, this was another example of what they thought. They thought they had won. They did not know. They had no idea what they were doing. They did not understand. They did not realize that the takedown was happening. Not everybody has this information. Now, everybody knows, every essence knows, of course, but at a 3D level, not everybody had this information. And therefore, they just thought this is business as usual and we're winning. And again, this is a reminder for us because many of us feel like things are not changing fast enough or bad things are still happening. It would have been impossible for us 2 years ago to predict we find ourselves in the situation today with everything that's happening. Every day we're being told a country is dropping this, a country is dropping that. Even New York, my goodness, New York has acted like China from the beginning. Even New York has dropped the mandate, is dropping the mandate at the end of September. And I'm recording this on October 11th, so this has already happened. So has dropped the mandate, is dropping the mandate at the end of September for private businesses to require the thing of their people. Think about it. They've manipulated everything. And all of a sudden they're saying, yeah, you don't need to do this anymore. Now, it's not because they have reached 100% of the population. They're like, we don't even need to mandate it anymore. If we've done the damage we wanted to do, everybody's taken it. No, they're doing this because they've lost. Most of the people, despite all they've done, most of the people have not taken it. And again, the thing is just a symbol of everything, of the dark system collapsing. It's not just, we're just focusing on that because it's so easy to track the history of what has happened with this pandemic. And what they were referring to in the beginning, they said they've already answered this question. They have answered this question or referred to this question in a previous video. You might have seen it or not seen it, but bottom line is, I wanted to share this because it's so powerful. Basically, a lot of us are making the mistake of thinking nothing is changing, even though so much is happening every day, just because we might see something that looks negative here or there. And we're used to this. And we're like, okay, this is what used to happen. But we forget what we've gone through. We have gone through complete fascism over the last 3 years. Even in places where you would never think, I mean, a lot of us thought we lived in free countries. What a joke, right? Democracy is so good. So a lot of us have awakened because of this. And so we're seeing things now that we cannot rationally believe that governments, after springing this on us, wanted to take it back. They were continuing, I mean, to this day, There are places where they're telling you, I got an email from my insurance this morning telling me that if I have any symptoms, I should go get tested. And I'm like, why? What are these tests for? If I even believe that these tests actually proved that you have one thing or the other, which we already know they don't. Okay, they never did. Even in vitro, this test for this popular flu said that they cannot be used to pick up on viruses. So that alone, but okay, we know that the truth has not been very popular in the past 2.5 years. Even if I thought that I was sick for whatever reason, what is the purpose of getting tested? And then I get tested, and then I do this and I do that. And again, my insurance carrier is telling me, sent me an email because they care about me so much, saying I should get tested. And then, of course, if that's a positive, because it's like the lottery, right? Whatever result it gives you, then I should get a booster and whatnot, because it increases even more the ability of me fighting off whatever it is. I'm like, if I already had some, I wouldn't need any more if they were actually working. So again, let's leave it at this. Okay, so this next question is about someone in our community who is saying certain things that I was curious about, because I know that for those of us who still have essences and are left behind, we're all working on becoming Neo. So this person is saying things that sound a little bit different from what many of us are experiencing. So I was curious to see where this was coming from. So here's the question. Lorrayne, thank you. Claire would like to know, and I would like to know, what is going on with, and we'll call this person Jonathan. He's having issues with his mental state, and he shows up. Me. So Jonathan is fine. We're talking about obsessive thoughts in our previous session. He's having obsessive thoughts is what he's doing. He's letting them run. The reason he allows himself to let them run, to speak of them, one is because of the container we've created in this community, but also because of the fact that he labels himself, or he has been labeled as, which of course means he wanted to be labeled as having a certain mental condition. And therefore he feels, we often use these labels to allow ourselves to be a certain way without being judged. And so he enjoys, or he benefits, or he takes advantage of this label. And in his mind, it also makes him more aware, where he doesn't have to play the game or pretend the way that we do, the rest of us do. And therefore, he allows himself to say whatever he wants to say. Isn't it interesting, for example, that he's speaking these thoughts in this container that is very safe, because we're all very high consciousness. In this container, we're all very non-judgmental. But at the same time, everything he's saying is very different from what we've been telling you. So in the group that is supposed to be at a very high level of consciousness, where we're going to be very close to the consciousness of the 25th very soon, and we are, working on bridging the gap here as soon as possible, he's talking about these things that are very much matrix beliefs. He's just working. He's just working like many of us have done at a physical level. He's working on an emotional level, because this is really emotional, on the fact that, what can I do? Who am I? Now, really, underneath all of that, what is he saying? He's saying, yes, I believe. Yes, I'm more than this physical body. Yes, I am special, of course, because we all want to be special here. That's just the nature of the game. We want to feel isolated. And therefore, in order to feel the separation, we must say, I'm different from you. And of course, the next step to that is, I'm better than you. But really, what is he doing? What is his higher self showing to him? That he's doing the work we are doing, which is focusing on the fact that we are becoming Neo. We are in charge of our reality. Now, again, he's talking about it. He's connecting. He's filtering himself, because, of course, he's not in the fifth dimension, because he believes he's in the fifth dimension. So they're referring to this. Because, of course, he's not in the fifth dimension, and they were laughing. His higher self is not in the fifth dimension, but he believes. Why is he saying that? Because the fifth dimension is higher than the third dimension. Again, in matrix beliefs, these are more advanced beings. We've already spoken about this. This is not true. So you see, he's coming up with all these things because he's dealing with the same stuff we're dealing with, which is, who are we? Who are we really? Are we open to believing for the first time ever that we are essence and we are all powerful and we do create a reality? This is the question. And we've spoken about obsessive thoughts in the last session, where we said obsessive thoughts, all they are is your higher self wanting you to deal with certain things. And you keep going over these thoughts in your head because you're trying to deal with them. Are you going to accept them? Are you going to let them percolate? You wouldn't even have these obsessive thoughts if you wasn't even thinking about it. My higher self is telling me, we're all one. I don't want to deal with it. I want to make money. I'm working in banking. I'm going to get a big bonus next month if I keep working 100 hours a week. I don't even have time for this, right? This wouldn't even be a thing. I would think, oh, wow, that's weird. That's a weird thought. Let me keep going. Why does he have obsessive thoughts? Because he's working on it. He cannot ignore it. Now, he has fun with it. He'll meditate. He'll play with it. It's all fun for him. It's good. He's having fun. We are happy for him. Nothing's going to happen to him. He's okay. We know there's always a bit of concern when we see people look like they're spiraling and we're laughing, like in this case. And no, he will be perfectly okay. He's basically doing at an emotional level. He's working on the same objectives that we're all working on. But in this case, he's used to filtering things through, again, his mental condition, which in his opinion, in his mind, it means that he's smarter and a faster thinker than most people. So you see, this is another example of how the essence can turn everything to its advantage. You and I might think of a mental condition as being a limitation. He actually conceives of it, and if you ask him, he would tell you as an advantage. That does not have limitations, the mental limitations the rest of us have, because that's what he believes. He believes he's faster, he's more intelligent than us, he has no filters. And again, no judgment. And he believes that this mental condition is actually his advantage, and he's brilliant. Now, he is brilliant, of course. We're all brilliant, but it's not about brilliance from a 3D perspective. It's about the fact that here we are wanting to remove all these limitations, these beliefs, these self-limiting beliefs from 3D, and wanting to elevate ourselves in that sense to our higher self. And again, why is the highest self brilliant? Because the highest self has created everything. I mean, I don't know how much more brilliant than that you can get. And they were laughing here. It's like saying the source is brilliant. Yeah, it is. And we're laughing. And we are source. But yeah, so he's dealing with all of this. He comes across, again, because he wants to. He doesn't know how to deal with this stuff. He's just letting it run and gushing out, really. And he thinks the way that he thinks of it is that he's educating us, which again is interesting. He would be educating us in his mind at a fifth dimensional level. He's educating us. We're getting messages from the 25th dimension. You see, even from a 3D perspective, it doesn't really make sense. All he's doing, he's shielding himself from realizing what he's wanting to know, what he's doing, which is he wants a logical explanation. I know it doesn't look logical from what he's saying, but really, he's trying to get to a logical explanation for his emotional state. The emotional state, we already talked about this. We're all going through it, which is we are in such turmoil, in a sense, because of what we're dealing with. Because we are changing in a way we didn't even know was possible. We are trailblazing here. This is very emotional from a human perspective because we're still human. Like, oh my God, is this really true? Is this really happening? And meanwhile, we're getting confirmation from some ends that this truly is happening. But from other ways, like, for example, the Fed increasing interest rates, you're like, oh no, nothing is ever changing. You see, we're still in the middle. We're still in the middle of this. And emotionally, this is a lot to take. Because we doubt ourselves, because we still see these negative things, what we consider to be negative, coming up, and we forget to focus on the fact that we are wanting this entire reality to happen, to pan out exactly the way it is. Even the dark is working for us now, because we are the majority, and the dark, we already said, they're helping us maintain this reality. So really, they're playing our game right now. But people we don't want to sound judgmental. That's not our intention. What Jonathan is finding himself in is this situation where he says, of course I'm powerful. But meanwhile, he's telling himself, but I'm also crazy. This is what he's saying to himself at the back of his mind. He goes, yeah, but this is normal. Maybe this is just me. Maybe this is not really. Yeah, when I come back into the reality of seeing the same thing they are, oh, but this is the explanation we were given. You see, he finds himself in that wedge as well, where he can go from one side to the other. He leaves himself open to going from the game to what he likes to believe, but he's still playing within. He's still using 3D ways of talking about things, judging things. He says fifth dimension. He could have said anything. He could have said 12th dimension. He could have said 17th dimension. It makes no difference. In his idea, the fifth dimension is where everything stems from, is good enough. It's good enough for him to say it's from the fifth dimension. And they were laughing. So he's just doing the same work we are doing. All of us have different emotional reactions to this. It just depends on how long you've been working on realizing that you are source. That's all. He's having fun with this in many ways. So it's fine. It's innocuous enough. And there's nothing to worry about. He's fine. So not only I was glad to hear this, but I thought the answer, the way that we are all going through this, is fascinating. So I really wanted to share this with you. All right, Lorrayne. And like all of us, he wants to make sure he's still loved in the community. Me. Yes, and he is. He's still on the side of the light, and he's going to go to New Earth, actually. Yeah. He's showing us another way in which consciousness is increasing and what we are dealing with behind the scenes. And it's all good. It is all good. What the essence wants to experience is perfectly acceptable. All right. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.